Hi guys, it's Monique from earlylearningmom.com. This is part 2 of my Q&A questions, and if you missed part 1, be sure to check in the description box below. I'll have a link there where you can catch up on some of the questions that I've already answered. Now these questions come from parents that are part of a Right Brain early education Facebook group that I'm part of, and I had put out there that I was looking for questions to do a video, and here I am. So one of the moms asked me, I want to know everything about set repetition, and retirement, and should we reintroduce the same word again after a few months? If yes, how many and how often? Okay, so in my last video, I mentioned that the exact numbers of times you show the cards doesn't really matter in the grander scheme of things. Just watch your child. If they seem to lose interest in the cards, retire it. Reintroducing the individual card is not necessarily required, because you're going to be taking those words and creating couplets. So you're going to be reintroducing it, but with a new flavor to it. So if you introduce the word elephant and yellow, and you retired those cards, now you would bring them back as yellow elephant or fast car or whatever words you introduced to your child. My son likes Zakari jumps. That was one of his favorite couplets when he was little. So that's how you're reintroducing it. And then once you retire the couplets, those words are going to be in your sentence cards. And then once you retire the sentence, those words are going to be in your homemade books. So your child is going to get lots of repetition. They're just going to look different. So I hope that answers your question. Hi Monique, I would want to know, can we introduce new sets of cards every day, or do we need to stick to the same set for at least 5 days? So I think the way we do this, or we did at least in the beginning, was day 1 I would introduce set 1. Day 2, I would introduce set 2, as well as include set 1. So now he's got 2 sets of cards, and one of them is brand new. Day 3, we would add the 3rd set. Day 4, we would add the 4th set, sorry. And day 5, we would add the 5th set. Now on day 6, I would retire set 1 and add a new set 1. And so your child is always getting new words each day, but you're not getting ambushed with retiring 5 sets of cards at once and introducing 5 sets of new cards. Some people will also, after 3 days, they'll pull out 1 or 2 cards and put new cards in the set. That's another way that you can introduce new words. But I think it's completely beneficial to your child to add those fresh words in, and to always make sure that you're keeping things fresh, and to really watch, like, do they need to see those cards 5 times, or are they bored on day 3? If they're bored on day 3, get them out of there, because you're going to be, like I mentioned, reintroducing those words again in couplets, phrases, sentences, and homemade books. So the child will be exposed to these words numerous times. Can we start a 3.3-year-old? If yes, then how should we begin? Basically by reading the books, How to Teach Your Baby to Read, How to Teach Your Baby Encyclopedic Knowledge. Start off by reading those books and implementing them. 3 is definitely not too old. And they will benefit. Will they learn as quickly as if they had started younger? No, but they're going to learn quicker than learning to read in grade 5 at the age of 5 or 6, when they go to public school, depending on your country where you're from. So yes, you can start. I recommend starting with reading, because it's a lot of easy success, and it's a lot of fun, and and if your child is able to read, they're able to learn on their own as well, sooner. Can you talk about the differences you've seen between your kids and other kids of the same age that you attribute to following the Doman method? Oh yeah, absolutely. I have lots of experience. I remember with my oldest, my girlfriend thought I was crazy. Like, what a waste of time. And my son went off to grade 1, and he was doing just fine. able to read, all of that. And, you know, some of their kids were struggling because they didn't have that additional you know, attention to reading, and they didn't enjoy reading. And I remember a girlfriend messaging me or calling me and saying, well, what can I do to help them? And I really didn't have a lot of information, because once your child has decided they don't like to read and it's become a negative experience, it's more difficult to get them on board. Whereas if they start learning it the same way they learn language, and learn how to talk, that's a lot easier. Another thing, I can speak to one of my daycare kids. Before Z was born, I had this sweet little boy, and I used the reading program on him and taught him to read. And I ended up talking to his mom several years later, after he left my daycare and went into school. And she had an older son who was quite a few years older than him. And she said, I don't know what you did with him, but I would never say this to her older son, but he is so much smarter than his brother was at this age. Things seem to come easier to him. So that was a testimony, because you could see one kid that got the Doman program and one kid that didn't get the Doman program, and they had the same genetics and, you know, otherwise the same experiences, but education came easier to the younger one that had been in my care. So that was really cool. So yeah, and even my youngest, who does live with autism, reading has been his tool to communication. So we were able to do a lot with him by just simply offering him a choice board, and he could read the words and he could answer us, or he could, you know, he was able to learn how to speak better because he had read the words, and like we were using more of his senses. So he could see the word, he could hear the word, and it made it easier for him to say the word. So that was super helpful as well. Hi, share physical activities for a 15-month-old and an 8-year-old per Doman method. Thanks. Well, both are going to have completely different programs, but I think you could probably get the 8-year-old in with the 15-month-old doing some crawling and creeping. I definitely recommend the book Fit Baby, Smart Baby, Your Baby. I have, my copy is How to Teach Your Baby to Be Physically Superb, but I believe the title now has changed. But yeah, the 8-year-old, having them go running, well, starting off with walking, going for hikes, doing short, like running with your child. So taking them for daily runs and starting off really small, like warming up for 5 minutes, breaking out into a strong run for 5 minutes, and then having a slow down, and working up to being able to run for nearly 50 minutes is the goal. And at 8 years old, that's completely doable. Brachiation is huge. If the 8-year-old can learn how to brachiate, which is the monkey bars, the 15-month-old will see that, and they're going to be more interested in learning how to hang from a dowel and to use the monkey bars. So I would definitely get the 8-year-old doing a lot of programs that are in that book, and in order to motivate the 15-month-old, because they're more likely to want to be like their older sibling. First of all, thank you for doing this. You're welcome. I would like every minuscule detail on it. Specifically, can you start it if the kid is soon to be 4 years old, or have we missed precious time? No, it is not too late. You can do this program definitely at 4 years old. We didn't start our intensive program with Z until he was 4. Definitely at 4, you're probably going to want to work on more of the physical programs. So the running, the walking, the creeping, the crawling, the brachiation, all of that stuff. That is probably going to be super beneficial for a 4-year-old to burn off some of that energy, so that they are more likely to sit down and do some of the reading program. But the reading program is totally doable at 4 years old. Will it go as quickly as if you had started earlier? No, but they're still definitely going to be further ahead once they start, you know, school at 6. What is your name? What is the name of your YouTube channel? Okay, because I'm going to be posting this on our group. It's Early Learning Mom is my YouTube channel. Also, want some proof, if possible, of the differences between kids who had right brain training and those who have not. Sorry, just inquisitive to know. I think you can look on YouTube and see some of these kids. I don't know if her channel's still up. I believe my girlfriend Tanya had a YouTube channel called Teaching My Toddlers, I believe. And she shows videos of her children, Lily and Owen, who I know personally. They are now 11 and 12, but these videos were when they were little, and you can just see how intelligent they are and how much they have picked up because their mom did this program with them, and now they're like 11 and 12 and they're coding and they're doing all sorts of awesome things. Her daughter's in like the gifted program. I know several families that were on the Brill Kids program, and their kids were on the Brill Kids forum back in the day before Facebook was really popular, and their kids are just exceptional. But I will tell you, my girlfriend, another friend of mine who lives locally to me, she debated starting right brain training with her son. She heard about it when he was 8 months old, and she waited like 6 to 8 months before she started because she just felt she needed the information. And she says that's her biggest regret, is not starting as soon as she heard about it. And at the end of the day, even if it didn't completely benefit your child, let's say it doesn't make your child exceptionally smart, which isn't our goal anyways. We want to help them succeed. But let's say all your child got out of this was your undivided attention. That is so good on their self-worth. They know that they were worth sitting down doing this with. That alone is worth its weight in gold. Everything else is gravy. So just try to remember that. Whoops, my screen went blank here. How to introduce another language. I haven't done that. We have just stuck with basic reading. We're doing typing, we're doing the physical program. So we're not introducing another language. Also, because Z is on the intensive program, we are doing a lot of programs that are prescribed with respiration, so masking, and the oxygen enrichment program, which takes a lot of our time. So we just haven't had time to add a second language, so I can't speak to that. Hey, any tips on how to get creative with the Doman flashcard program other than just flashing it to the child? Like I said before, I have thrown all our cards onto the trampoline, and we've done the card that way. I know families that have hung the words from the brachiation ladders, and as they swing to it, they read the word, or the parent reads the word to them. I have also done hopscotch with the words, where I've put the words all over the floor and we hop to them. There's lots of fun ways to do it. But honestly, the quickest way is to flash them. And if your child is not that interested, find interesting words. Add in interesting cards. So like, let's say every second card you have a picture of their favorite character so they can look forward to it. That kind of stuff helps make it a little bit more interesting. But we haven't had too much trouble. As long as I keep it quick, I keep the material fresh, that's all they need. We don't have to be these clowns and running a circus to entertain these kids. They want to learn. And as long as you're providing new information and information they want to learn, you're golden. What are the possible common issues that we could face in reading, math, encyclopedia program with the child? Using old information. Continuing to show the program to them, like not keeping the words fresh, not flashing quick enough. You can lose their interest that way. But besides that, as long as you have a positive attitude and understand that kids are kids and sometimes they're just not going to be in the mood for it, and understand that, and maybe put the words away for a day or two and then come back to it. That'll help you keep fresh and avoid some of those pitfalls. But usually if kids are getting bored, it's because the information is, they know it already. They're ready for new stuff. How to reduce the number of times we show the cards. That's based on your child. So if your child is getting bored after seeing it 5 times, you show it 4 times. They may need to see it 15 times for to continue seeing words. Like, so this set of words we show it 15 times, this set of words we show it 15 times, and maybe you don't reduce the amount of times you show the sets for a year. It's based on the child, so you really have to observe your child. What should be the sequence of picture cards? Words cards and dot cards. Should we show it in one session, or should we have to show only one type of set in one training session, and after retiring that set we can introduce a new type of set? I think this all depends on your child. It doesn't matter if they eat their potatoes before their meat. Not typically. So if you just watch your child, I'm busy during the day. I run a home daycare. I've got to keep things flowing. So Z can now sit that he can do a set of his word cards, and he can do his homemade book, and then he can move on to maybe typing. We can do that all in a sitting, but it hasn't always been that way. We've worked up to it. So we had started with the reading program, and then we introduced another program, and then we introduced another program. You have to watch your child based on their age and how interested they are in it. Z does better with big groups of programs, and then having a bigger time to play, and then a big group of programs. But I know some kids that won't sit for that. So it totally depends on your child, and you're gonna have to experiment with this. It doesn't matter if you show math before the homemade book, or you show the Doman cards, and then you show your reading cards. It doesn't really matter. I tend to keep things that they're less interested at the beginning, maybe. So like maybe math dots aren't as interesting to them. So I would show them that first, and then reward them with another set of word cards if that's what they're interested in. So yeah, and that was actually perfect timing because my camera is blinking that I am almost out of batteries, and that was my last question. So anyhow, I hope this helps. If you missed part 1, be sure to check it out. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe, like, and we'll see you next time with a brand new video.